So this video discusses the equation of a circle and various properties of that. So I'll start by just showing you the standard form for equation of a circle, which is right here. So we have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So hk is the center of the circle. So if you'll notice this, you subtract h and subtract k. So if our center is at 3, 2, we're going to have x minus 3, x minus 2. But if you have your center of the circle in the left side of the coordinate plane, then you're going to have some negatives. So it would be like x minus a negative 3. So it would be x plus 3 squared or y plus 3 squared. So your signs end up seeming a little bit backwards, but it all stems from our general equation being minus h and minus k. And then our r is our radius. So if we have a radius of 6, then 6 squared is 36. So if I look right here at number 1, it just asks me to identify the center and radius from this equation. So I have x minus 9. So my center is at 9 because it's minus h. My h is 9. And then if I have plus 11, well, that must have been one of those minus and negative 11 situations to make it positive. So my center is at 9, negative 11. And then my radius is at the square root of 16. 16 can be rewritten as 4 squared. And since this is equal to our radius squared, the radius is 4. And then similarly with number 2, this negative 1, so I just have 1, and negative 10 is my center. And then the square root of 4 is 2. So that's the basic process. So I'll go ahead and fill these out too. So these are both positive, so I have a negative 3 and a negative 15. And then the square root of 1 is 1. And then I have a center at 15, negative 6. My radius is at the square root of 6. So that one doesn't simplify quite as easy, but the idea is the same. Okay, so then the next section gives us the center and radius and wants us to write the equation. So we're kind of going backwards from what we just did. So if I have a center at negative 6, negative 1, I would write my equation x minus a negative 6, so x plus 6 squared, plus x, or y, y minus a negative 1, or y plus 1 squared, equals 4 squared, and 4 times 4 is 16. And then number 6, I have x minus 15 squared, plus y minus 5 squared equals 3 squared, and 3 times 3 is 9. And then 7, I have x minus a negative 1, which would be x plus 1 squared, plus y minus 1 squared equals 13 squared, which is 169. And then this one, I have x minus a negative 15, so x plus 15 squared, plus y minus a negative 8, so y plus 8 squared, equals 3 squared, which is 9. I want to just kind of make a note right here. Let's say my radius is like the square root of 2. So when I'm putting it in my equation, it's the radius squared, so the square root of 2 squared, these cancel, and it would just be equal to 2. So that's how you can kind of get numbers that aren't perfect squares as your radius or as your whatever your equation is set equal to. So the next set of examples is pretty similar to what we just did on 5 through 8, except we're asked to write the equation of a circle and we're given pictures of circles. But in the picture, we can see where the center is and where the radius is. So if I look here, my center is at negative 3, 3. So I'm just going to write that down. And my radius is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My radius is at 6. And once I have those two pieces of information, I can do it exactly like I did above. X minus a negative 3, so x plus 3 squared, plus y minus 3 squared equals 6 squared, which is 36. So then the same thing here, my center is at 2, 3. And then my radius is at 1, 2. So using that information, I can say I have x minus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 2 squared, which is 4. And then the last example, my center is at 3, negative 5. And my radius is at 1, 2, 3, 4. I wrote negative 15 instead of negative 5. And then my radius was 4. So using that same information, I have x minus 3 squared plus y minus a negative 5, so y plus 5 squared equals 4 squared, which is 16. So all of that seems pretty straightforward once we understand the standard form of a circle and what each part of that means. The next, and I think last concept I'm going to teach you in this video, is how to put an equation into that standard form equation of a circle so we can find the center and find the radius if it's written like this. So I have x squared plus y squared plus 16y plus 39 equals 0. So I don't have it in that nice pretty x plus this form, y plus this form equals this. So the process called completing the square, and there's steps on how to do that right here, helps us to put it in that form so we can find the center and find the radius. So the first step is to move the constant to the other side of the equal sign. So the constant is a number without a variable, so this 39 is our constant. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract that from one side. So I have x squared plus y squared plus 16y equals negative 39. So that's step 1, simple enough. Step 2 says to put x terms together and y terms together in 2 sets of parentheses and then leave space. So I have one set of parentheses with my x squared, and then I have another set of parentheses with my y squared plus 16y. I'm leaving space in both sets of parentheses, and that's equal to negative 39. Okay, step 3, divide each b term by 2 and square it. Well, what's a b term? So if you remember, standard form of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. So this middle term is what's called our b term. So with my x squared, I don't have a b term. I don't have something with just an x, so I don't have to worry about that one. That's going to just stay as x squared. But here I have y squared plus 16y. So that 16 is my b term. So I'm going to go back and see what it asked me to do with that. It says divide each b term by 2. Okay, 16 divided by 2 is 8. And square it. Well, 8 squared is 64. So I divided my b term by 2 and squared it. I got 64. And it then asks me to add that number to both sides. Okay, well, I'm going to add it right here. So plus 64. And then both sides of the equal sign, so I'm going to add it to this side. This is plus 64. And then it says, write the left side in factored form. So again, my x squared just going to stay right how it is. But this y squared plus 16y plus 64 is now a quadratic that I can factor. However, it's factored in a very specific way. So if you'll notice, I need two numbers that multiply to 64 and add to 16. Well, that's 8 and 8. But remember when I divided my b term by 2, 16 divided by 2 is 8. That number is going to work out for you every time. So this would factor to y plus 8 times y plus 8, which is y plus 8 squared. So I now have x squared plus y plus 8 squared equals, and then negative 39 plus 64 is 25. So this right here is now in factored form, and I can easily find my center and my radius from this. So my center, I just have an x squared, so it's like x plus 0 squared. So my x term of my center is just 0. And then my y term is a negative 8. And then my radius, well, the square root of 25 is 5. So this process helps us to get it in a form where we can easily see the center and radius. So I'm going to go ahead and do it going through all the steps just like that one more time, and then I'll show you how I kind of still do all the steps but don't write them all out to kind of save you time. But if writing all of the steps out works for you, then that's totally great to do that. So first, move the constant to the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to minus 24. So I have x squared plus y squared plus 16x plus 6y equals a negative 24. And then it asks, put x terms together and y terms together in 2 sets of parentheses and to leave space. So my x squared plus 16x go together, and then my y squared and 6y go together, and that's equal to negative 24. So what I did in one set of parentheses over here, I'm now going to do in both sets. So 16, I'm on step 3 now, divide each b term by 2 and square it. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 squared is 64, so I'm going to add 64 to both sides. And then 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9, so I'm going to add 9 to both sides. So now both of these can be factored. Two numbers that multiply to 64 and add to 16 is 8. So I have x plus 8 squared. And then two numbers that multiply to 9 and add to 6 is 3 and 3. So I have y plus 3 squared. And then if I go ahead and simplify, negative 24 plus 64 plus 9, I'm left with 49. So this is equal to 49. So again, I now have my nice, pretty standard form. So my center is at negative 8, negative 3. My radius is the square root of 49, which is 7. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go through all the same steps, but I'm going to write in what I think is a little bit a faster and easier way on number 3. So I'm going to scroll so I can't see the steps anymore, but I will still dictate them. So the first step is to minus 64 from both sides to move that constant term. And the second step is to group the x terms and y terms together. So I'm just going to do that all at once. So I have x squared minus 18x, leave space, plus y squared minus 16y, leave space, equals negative 64. So then I divide my b terms by 2 and square them. So negative 18 divided by 2 is a negative 9, squared is 81. So I'm going to add 81 to both sides. Negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 squared is 64. So I'm going to add 64 to both sides. So this negative, two numbers that multiply to 81 and add to negative 18 is negative 9 and negative 9, just because that negative 18 divides by 2 is a negative 9. I could have got it that way as well. And then two numbers that multiply to 64 add to negative 16 is a negative 8. And then negative 64 plus 81 plus 64 is 81. So there I have my final form. My center is at 9, 8. And my radius is the square root of 81, which is 9. Last one I'm going to go through pretty quickly. I want you to kind of try it on your own so you can get a practice. So I'm grouping my terms together and moving the 16 to the other side. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 7 squared is 49. Negative 8 divided by 2 is a negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. So this factors to x plus 7 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 49. So I have a center at negative 7, 4, and a radius of 7.